Hey guys, I'm Andy, and this is a Masters of Mutanite tabletop simulator 2-player game. And I'm going to go through the different objects that you can throw in the game as well as the elemental effects that they create. So you may have watched some other videos, but I'll still go through kind of the basics of the gameplay. So you have a 4-card hand on your turn from your personal deck, and you can play any number of cards on your turn. There are melee powers and there are ranged powers. So melee is the fist, ranged is the crosshair here. And today we're going to be taking a look at Fling. And Fling has this throw icon here. That's that kind of white, rock with the action lines behind it. And so if I were playing as Crackjack here, you can see my little bunny guy on the board, going against the Claw. You can see her player sheet is across the way here. I could play this Fling from my hand. It would go to my discard pile, and I would take one of these objects from the zone and actually throw it to the other zone at the Claw. And actually, this is going to be the first object that we're going to cover is the car. So the car, you can see on it, it says it deals 1 damage and it puts a fire into the zone. So when fire goes into the zone, we're going to look at the character sheet again. We're going to see that under the status effects, it says that fire deals 1 damage per fire in the zone. So this is after the fire is placed. So because that car did 1 damage and put fire in, it actually did 2 damage. If there had been a fire there previously, then activating that fire would actually have done 2 damage total. So the car would have done 3 damage. So fire kind of builds up over time. The next kind of object here is the poison barrel. And you can see that just poisons your opponent when you throw it in there. So let's say that the Claw threw this at Crackjack. Then he would take one of these poison cards and put it into his discard pile. So it says when you gain this, take 1 damage. And when you draw this, take a damage, discard it, and draw a card. So poison is kind of giving you damage and going through your deck. And each time you draw it, giving you more damage. Okay, then we have the ice cream truck here, which just adds frost to them. There you can go. You can see that the little Mr. Frosty knockoff. Not sponsored by Mr. Frosty. Okay, so the next thing is, let's say that Crackjack threw this ice cream truck and gave the Claw a frost. Frost goes in front of you like a trait, and it says when you receive this, take 1 damage for each frost you have. You cannot dash diagonally. So if you have a frost when you receive a frost, you're actually going to get 2 damage. So it's very similar to fire in that it builds on itself, but it's attached to you, whereas fire kind of sits in the zone. The next one is, actually we're going to skip lightning for now and go to water. So let's say that we were, let's kind of just push up to this zone here. Whoop. So let's say the Claw was throwing this water tower over here at Crackjack. Water tower says it deals 2 damage and puts water into the zone. So we take one of these water counters, put it into the zone. Crackjack takes this 2 damage. So if we look on here, we'll see under the status effects that water doesn't actually have any negative effect by itself. And in fact, it can actually remove a fire from the zone if you want it to. But what water does is it amplifies lightning damage. So that's the next one that we'll cover is the power pole or utility pole, telephone pole, whatever you want to call it. So if we had a water in this zone and the Claw threw a power pole over here, it would zap Crackjack, and he would take 2 damage plus 1 damage for each water in the zone. And I'll just show you that on here. So 2 plus 1 per water in the zone. So let's say, I'm going to just clear some objects out here. Let's say in the past there were actually multiple waters put in here. Let's say there's like a couple water towers, maybe a water blast, and then the Claw threw this at Crackjack. Then it's going to deal 2 damage plus 3 damage because there are 3 waters in the zone. So actually just throwing that power pole will do 5 damage to him off his 50 life point total. So it's pretty significant. So you can see that as the game goes on, these different elemental effects build up on the board and make it more and more dangerous to move around, to get powers, that sort of thing. And then you can also have traits that kind of synergize with these. So Crackjack can start with this trait, High Voltage. It says your lightning deals an additional 2 damage. So if he threw a power pole, even if there was nothing in the zone, you would do the normal 2 plus 2 for High Voltage. So that would be 4. Then you have other things that can combo with the elemental effects, such as Kraken Call. It says once on your turn, deal 2 damage to a target in the zone with water. So if, let's say that we had taken these out of the zone, the Claw could have thrown this over there, boop, put a water in that zone, and then used Kraken Claw. So that's kind of how those things combo. And we've been talking about Fling, which is a starting card, but there are also cards that you can kind of tech up into from the board. So if you see Poison Pitch over here, so that has a normal throw on it, and it gives poison. So, and it doesn't matter what you throw, it's going to give the poison, but if you did throw a poison barrel, then that would give the opponent 2 poison. Similarly, we have Forearm Fury here, which will let you throw 2 objects in your zone. Pretty handy. So you could get some like kind of built-in synergy stuff this way. And if I played a Forearm Fury from this zone with Crackjack, I could throw the water tower at first, put a water into the zone, and then throw the power pole second, and then that power pole is actually going to get the synergy from that first water that we put into the zone. And then Forearm Fury is actually pretty crazy. You can actually pay 2 Mutanite to boost the card and repeat it as many times as you want, as long as you have more Mutanite to keep repeating it. So you can just keep chucking stuff at your opponent. Pretty awesome. Yeah, so there are other things that are going to fuel those different throwing abilities in the game. You can also react to them. So like Blizzard here, you see the yellow burst behind it. That means it's a reaction. You can play it as something is coming at you, like any kind of ranged attack, whether it's a throw or not. And this would kind of stop the throw and then do that ability of Frost to the opponent. Other things, other traits that we have here, Marksmanship is going to boost your ranged attacks by 1 damage, so that'll help out throws. Super Strength is really cool, so once in your turn, when you throw, it deals an additional 2 damage and may go an additional zone. So normally, you can only throw 1 zone away, like orthogonal or diagonal, but if you were down here and the Claw had Super Strength, then you could actually take that power pole and chuck it all the way across the board here, and that's going to deal 2 damage for the lightning plus 2 damage for the Super Strength. Other things that you can do across the board, and this is hinted at in the campaign video, is Telekinesis. So once in your turn, when you would throw something from any zone as if you were there. So let's say that Crackjack was over here across the board, and he had Telekinesis in front of him. Even though this power pole is not in his zone, he could use his fling to say he's throwing something, and then use the power pole and chuck it into the Claw's zone. So also super handy, so you can keep your opponents at a distance, but keep pummeling them with these different attacks. So anyway, I think that is enough for this update. So that's throwing and elemental effects. If you guys have any questions in the comments, please let me know there. So thanks, bye.